Opinions and suggestions expressed on the following program are solely those of the participants and are not necessarily endorsed by KRMG, Cox Media Group Incorporated, or the program sponsors. This following program is sponsored by Causeway, LLC. Information in this broadcast is not intended as an investment, tax, or financial advice. Matthew Moore is not a licensed investment advisor and speaks solely from his experience and opinions. All information in this broadcast is for entertainment or educational purposes only. Matthew Moore, Causeway, LLC, and Cox Media Group Tulsa are not responsible for the success or failure of any person's investment decisions or purchases. Matthew Moore, Causeway, LLC, and Cox Media Group Tulsa makes no and expressly disclaims all representations, warranties, and guarantees with respect to this broadcast and its sponsors. Investing in any market is inherently risky and can be financially dangerous. Invest at your own risk. Gather knowledge in the world of cryptocurrency right now on 102.3 KRMG, Tulsa's news and talk. Welcome to Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore. Matthew is locally based right here in Tulsa. Questions, comments, concerns? Call 918-460-5764 or send us an open mic using the KRMG app. Now, here's Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore.
And good Sunday evening to you. My name is Russell Mills. I am tickled pink to be here with my buddies Matt and Eric and Chris as we dive into the world of cryptocurrencies. And we're going to talk today about, is cryptocurrency just a big scam? Is cryptocurrency what's going to push us over the top and make climate once and forever burn us all alive? Well, probably not. Actually, it might be on the upside for those folks who are worried about things green. And I'm not talking about money here, but let's go ahead and turn it over to our host because he knows way more about it than I do. His name is Matthew J. Moore. Hey, Matt.
Hey. Thanks, Russell. Thanks for the introduction. We are here in studio with one of America's only cryptocurrency radio shows, and we'd like to bring some interesting topics. And today we most certainly do have an interesting topic to cover, something that's been brought up quite a bit. And if I was to be somebody to predict, I would say that we're going to see a lot more of this kind of conversation. And if you were just curious, what is the price of Bitcoin right now? It's actually $46,905.08, depending on what exchange you're looking at. But I want you to consider this. Despite the prices, despite money, right? What does Bitcoin do to the environment? That's a big discussion right now, especially in the Bitcoin space. And in my opinion, it's time to get our fiat footprint to zero, right? We could talk about carbon footprints, and we're going to most certainly do that today. But, there is a war brewing in the world of Bitcoin, and the war drums, they are beating, right? The common narrative I've been hearing is, Matt, why do you push Bitcoin so much? Don't you know it's expensive and bad for the environment? Bitcoin's time is limited. There's no way that the climate fanatics will let you use Bitcoin. It's too energy intensive. We have to get our carbon footprint to zero, or guess what? The whole world is doomed. But to make matters worse, the billionaire co-founder of Ripple, or XRP, Chris Larsen, is now teaming up with an organization called Greenpeace and the Sierra Club in order to crap on Bitcoin so they can shill their own project. Chris Larsen is literally bankrolling a $5 million campaign to encourage the Bitcoin community to change the Bitcoin code from proof of work to proof of stake. And we'll dive into what that means here in the episode. But this is my opinion. This is kind of laughable for multiple reasons. The first one being that this is the last thing, in my opinion, that Bitcoiners will ever do. In fact, it will probably create another, what they would call hard fork of Bitcoin if it is attempted, with the result of the newly forked project failing, just like the ones before it, like Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV. And second, it destroys Bitcoin's value proposition of being a fair form of money if adopted. And I will explain that concept a little later in the episode as well. But my third point, Bitcoin's energy consumption is not necessarily bad for the environment. It's actually helpful in unlocking renewable energy sources as we make renewable energy more viable. So didn't think if you've been listening to this, I'm sure you didn't expect that coming. But we're going to unpack this idea with our guest today. And Bitcoiners around the world, they've got this fight brewing. And the cyber hornets protecting Bitcoin will have absolutely no mercy. But before we unpack this controversial episode and debunk the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, I want to introduce to you my fellow monetary freedom fighter and co-host, Eric Cooper. Eric, welcome to another episode, my friend. You ready to hash this episode out?
I like it. I like the pun there. It's laughable. I'm gonna go with laughable too.
Well, it's in my opinion, in order to take this valuable content and bring these interesting and sometimes controversial topics, it's all made possible because of our sponsors. In fact, Eric, why don't you share with our listeners about the advantages that they can get with this segment sponsor?
Yeah, this segment is brought to you by a company called Hedged. If you have a strategy to obtain cryptocurrency on a regular basis, you're in a good place. Do you plan on automating your dollar cost averaging? What about getting all or even part of your paycheck in cryptocurrency? Hedge is revolutionizing how we get paid. Hedge makes it easy to automatically convert your pay into crypto. Whether you're an employer or an employee, you can get started in 4 easy steps. Start getting paid in Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Litecoin. Crypto is a long-term play, and strategy is needed to start today. That is it. Hedge is here to make it easy to stack those sats month after month. What are you waiting for? Start living on the Hedge. And you can check them out at gethedge.io. Again, gethedge.io. And Matt, I think that we make it even easier than that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're really serious about checking out what they have to offer, you can go to my website, mattjmoore.com as well. And on the homepage, you'll see a button that says Get Hedge, and you can start the sign-up process. So, but let's go ahead and kick this off and bring on our actually returning guest and main guest. He resides right here in Tulsa and is literally changing the world. He is changing the way that we look at energy and is perfect for this conversation today. Who is he, you might be thinking? Well, none other than Chris Ransdell from American BitPower, and they are a Bitcoin mining operation right here in Oklahoma. Chris, welcome back to one of America's only radio shows dedicated to this subject. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Matt. It's always a great time being in your show and discussing topics that are really important, not only just to the Bitcoin fans, not only just to people who want to make money, because I think that we all want to make money, right?
Sure.
Yeah, but it's also important now to our everyday life because it's a matter of saving our earth, saving our energy, and being more responsible stewards of what we have. And believe it or not, like you said, the Bitcoin community at large is furthering that cause.
Chris, I know that we're going to be heading to the break here in about 4 minutes, but before we do, give me your opening thought on why this ESG or environmental crowd is looking to attack Bitcoin. Is it just simply a lack of understanding, or is it intentional? What's going on?
Oh, it's definitely there's a lot of ignorance involved in this, because when you see something consume a lot of energy, immediately you just kind of poo-poo it.
We got to stop that right now.
This is a problem, and unfortunately, because this is threatening certain industries that are having a lot of their control being pulled or strained, they're going to jump behind this misinformation about the cryptocurrency world at large. So believe it or not, I think it's really rooted in the fact that people do not have the accurate information. They don't have the knowledge of how much we are furthering the green energy, how much we're furthering the ESG subject at large.
Now, I mean, we were talking about it last time. I encourage people, like anything that you hear, even if it is on our show, go take some time. Don't just stop at the headlines. Get in there, dig in. Matt, you say all the time, you consume like 6 to 10 hours of content, on daily about Bitcoin and crypto. So
close to that.
Yeah, a lot. So I know we're going to unpack this in the upcoming segments, but what should the overall game plan be for Bitcoiners moving forward to battle this junk?
Well, as a Bitcoin miner myself, as a company that manages, now we're up to about 10 megawatts, which we're really proud of that. And you might be hearing some of these larger 500 megawatt, 250 megawatt, but if you look at what they're doing, they're also pioneers in this alternate energy solution. So we're trying our darndest to find the most economic and least invasive solution, because that is better for us individually. Yeah. So our agenda matches the Earth's agenda, matches this green agenda, because we want to, first of all, we live here. We want it to work here. So I think the best thing to do is talk to a miner, all right? Talk to me, call me, message me. Well, don't necessarily pass my cell number out, but but really talk to a miner, but get the information straight from the source, and then go look at our operations, look at what we're doing. And we have a couple examples we'll bring up later on today in the show that you can see exactly what some of the big boys are doing here in Oklahoma today.
So not starting with pitchforks and burning you guys down, but actually let's have a conversation.
Yes, rational approach, right?
Right. And well, I just want to remind you guys before we go to break, we will be heading down to Miami, Florida next week, actually on Tuesday for the Bitcoin conference.
Yes, sir.
And if you're interested in still going, I think they still have tickets. You can go to my website, mattjmoore.com, and check out all the details there and use our promo code KRMG10. It's going to be a blast. Education, sun, and just lots of after parties and great people. I mean, we went last year and looking forward to it
I'm
again.
definitely looking forward to it myself.
Yeah. Is this going to be your first time, Chris?
This is going to be my first time. I'm popping my Bitcoin 2022 bubble.
Well, you know what? We're gonna have a blast. So, but when we come back, we're gonna unpack why Bitcoin's energy consumption is actually could be good for the environment and the concept of why it's actually fair money. So, and think about this. Why will it help us transition to make renewable energy more valuable for society at large? We're going to cover that. So stay tuned, my friends. We will be right back with more digital gold and unconventional thinking.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, one thing Chris hasn't really told you exactly why. They're doing I'll just sum it up for you real quick. They're taking natural gas that would normally get vented out into the world, right, for no good purpose, and turning it into energy. So it's a win-win. We'll talk more about that coming back. You are listening to Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore, and me. I'm Dick Lofton, and I'll be right back. You're listening to 102.3 KRMG, Tulsa's News and Talk. Welcome back to Cryptocurrencies with Matthew J. Moore. I'm Russell Mills. Thank you very much for tuning in this evening. The discussion tonight is Bitcoin good for the environment? You might be surprised at the answer. I think a lot of people have this misconception that, it's this massive energy generation and it's creating, it's enlarging our carbon footprint. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. And here in Oklahoma, where the energy sector is meeting the Bitcoin sector in perhaps ways unparalleled anywhere on our planet, we've got some great people to talk about it. Starting off with our host, Matthew J. Moore. Hey, Matt.
That's right. This is Michael here. I'm just kidding. No, it's actually Matthew.
I'm busted.
Just busted with you. We're here in studio, and I want to welcome all of you crypto newbies, lovers, and experts. We're here to unpack some interesting conversations around this topic. But I do want to introduce my trusted co-host, Eric Cooper. Eric, you ready, man?
Hey, you know what? We have been doing this now for 42 episodes. Crypto is much more in depth than money that you can buy on an app, right? So if you want to go back, listen to, we've talked about crypto with war, we've talked about crypto and blockchain, providing diplomas for people overseas. So you can go to KRMG's website. It's krmg.com. You can download the app, go on demand, look and listen to all of our past ones. But now we are also Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, anybody. I mean, go to Google, search Matthew J. Moore and cryptocurrency, and you will find quite a bit.
That's right. And with us today is a local Bitcoin miner who specializes in this subject of energy. He's the vice president of the company known as American BitPower. Chris Ransdell, welcome back to the show, my friend.
Thank you very much. This is more fun than a bowl full of monkeys that are mining Bitcoin.
Is that like monkeys
is
in a
that
barrel?
how you do it?
Yes,
So it's
That is the
cheap
new green
monkey
energy.
labor.
It's monkey energy.
We don't talk about Christian you that way into your face, just FYI.
Well, guys, before we dive into this topic today, I want to make myself very clear here, okay? I'm personally not against the environment or renewable energy. In fact, it is the opposite. I think these are noble goals that should be pursued, and I subscribe to this idea of being a good steward of our life and our environment. It's simply personal responsibility, and I want to see renewable technology evolve, grow, and work. So, however, there is a large difference between somebody who wants to help the environment versus somebody who might be a doom and gloom climate fanatic. And, I don't really subscribe to that idea, but we have to, and I don't really subscribe to the idea of using tyrannical force to achieve these goals either. And I most certainly don't agree with the World Economic Forum that in order to save the planet, we will own nothing and be happy. And to completely stop using all forms of fossil fuels in the near future is probably unrealistic. And I believe all of these objectives, though, can be achieved through free market solutions and incentives like Bitcoin mining. So surprise, surprise.
Now, Chris, as a Bitcoin miner, can you describe how Bitcoin mining incentives green energy and development, and how much of the current mining is done with green energy versus fossil fuels And then do you see this increasing?
Absolutely. First of all, the the incentivization, is that the right word? The incentivizing of green energy boils down to the almighty currency. I'm not going to say almighty dollar anymore because I want almighty Bitcoin here,
Right.
but the almighty currency. And so cryptocurrency mining requires a lot of energy, and we want it to be at a lower cost. So let's be honest here. The main incentive is actually what the lowest cost is.
Yeah.
The good news is the lowest cost is green energy. It's hydro energy. It's wind energy. It's reduction of flare and stranded natural gas. This is the stuff that is actually causing the natural gas problem is an issue. We are burning in the United States alone as much natural gas as it would cost to provide 100% of the energy in our country. We are literally torching it into fumes into our atmosphere. So we can neutralize that through Bitcoin mining. Now, I don't know the global percentages because a lot of countries are not reporting at all how and where they're getting their energy. Actually, most of them aren't.
Well, and I would say I've been reading some statistics. It's actually, I think, more than half of Bitcoin mining is done with renewable energy. Have you heard that, Chris?
I have heard rumors that it is right at half. So
Okay.
my rumors are resources saying right at half. However, Kazakhstan's not telling us anything. I mean, they shut off most of their Bitcoin mining a few months ago. But in Oklahoma, we are an incredibly green state. And it was shocking. I didn't know this until I became a Bitcoin miner, how much of our energy is green energy. We are actually an incredibly green state.
All right. Well, hey, you know what? Here's what I want to do, Chris. So recently, me and you did a segment for the Oklahoma News Report on OETA, and we addressed a lot of these issues in the interview. And I'm going to play one of my answers that didn't air on TV due to time constraints, but I felt it was a good answer with some valid points. So we're going to go ahead and take a listen to that.
All right. And this is the longer one? Or the
Yeah,
shorter
2
one?
minutes and 50 seconds.
Okay.
But really what I want to touch on from an investment standpoint is something that Chris mentioned, and that is the power consumption. That could be a problem. The price of Bitcoin shot up when Elon Musk came out and said, we are going to now accept Bitcoin as payment for Teslas. And then what happened? Not long after that, he came out and said, well, we're not going to do that.
There's going to be a ginormous push about the ESG stuff in order to fearmonger people not to get into Bitcoin. The first thing we have to realize about money in general, money is a representation of our life. It is a representation of our life force, our time, labor, energy, and resources. And what makes something a fair form of money is the simple fact that both the producer and the user have to spend time, labor, energy, and resources to either bring it into existence or work for it. Right now, our current system is not like that. I do want to address, we have to look at the utility of Bitcoin's value proposition. Let's think about this, the petrodollar, the fiat dollar system. In order to keep the United States as the world reserve currency, we have had to basically print money out of thin air to fund a massive military in order to protect the trade routes, in order to incentivize OPEC nations to still trade their oil in dollars. Think about how many fossil fuels that the U.S. military uses. We use 4.6 billion gallons of fossil fuel a year to protect the dollar. And Bitcoin currently uses as much energy as the country of Sweden. And that might sound like a lot, but think about this. Bitcoin currently only uses half of the amount of the energy that is needed to run the current banking system, along with the gold mining industry. Bitcoin's proof of work basically incentivizes miners to find the cheapest form of energy. And guess what? The cheapest form of energy is not always fossil fuels. It's actually renewable energies in remote locations. Yeah. And so Bitcoin allows you to unlock the potential of natural and remote energy sources, things like hydro, wind, solar. And with a satellite connection, you can literally set up a mining rig in remote locations and monetize this energy. And like I said, money is a tool that represents energy. Bitcoin is the only tool that does not bleed this energy during its transportation. Oil and natural gas companies, let's speak on this for a minute. They are using Bitcoin mining to capture this flaring that's really bad for the environment, and they're turning this into electricity, and they're mining Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is actually helping the environment in this matter. And then also, we need to be mindful that, this is new and emerging, and to think that, we need to poo-poo it immediately because we don't understand it or because it's using a lot of energy. Well, what is the utility value of that energy consumption?
Chris, what do you think about that? I know you were going to add a comment right after that.
Well, I think this is, first of all, that was so well said on the show, and it was a really great show to be a part of with you there. The motivation to pursue renewable energy starts with the cost. And whenever you're going to build a hydro energy dam or a wind farm, there's a lot of upfront capital expense. However, if you have a captive audience, consumer of said energy, to immediately say, I'm going to guarantee and use half a gigawatt, or I'm going to use a gigawatt, or I'm going to use even 100 megawatts. And a lot of people, I'll explain what those energy metrics are as in relation to your everyday life here in a minute. But the most important thing to know is us Bitcoin miners motivate these energy manufacturing entities to pursue these renewable energy resources, and we can help fund it. We actually are funding it. There is some new substations being built by Northern Data on hydro energy as we speak in Oklahoma.
Well, we got to go to break, but we got more fun and just interesting content coming right up. So stay put, because we're going to continue this conversation.
Interestingly, I just talked to PSO not too long ago. They just opened up part 3 of their big wind farm complex in western Oklahoma. And do you know about half of our energy in Oklahoma is already generated by PSO's electricity generated by wind?
Wow, that's impressive.
And about the other half is mostly natural gas.
Wow.
A little bit of coal mixed in. Hey, you are listening to Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore. We are live and local on 102.3 KRMG, Tulsa's News and Talk. We're going to take a quick time out now, get you caught up on some of the other stuff that's going on, and then we'll come back and have more of this conversation about, you can be green and go Bitcoin. You can swallow the orange pill and not have to stay awake at night worrying about the environment. It's true. Quick time out. More Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore next on 102.3 KRMG, Tulsa's News and Talk. Welcome back to Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore. I'm Russell Mills. Thank you very much for tuning in this evening. Fascinating conversation with Chris Ransdell from American BitPower. Of course, Eric Cooper's here as well. But the guy that put this whole rodeo together and kind of keeps us in the corral, his name is Matthew J. Moore. Hey, Matt.
That's right. I'm always preparing some interesting topics along with some fun ideas and bullet points. But to hash it all out is the people that I love the most, and that's the people here in the studio. And so, Eric, I want you to go ahead and kick us back off here, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we are here with, once again, Chris Ransdell, Vice President, American BitPower, here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now, Chris, one of the reasons why Bitcoin is fair money is because of its proof of work mining. Can you describe the proof of work versus the proof of stake? And, just maybe touch on why you think maybe the proof of stake is a little bit closer to the fiat system that we're trying to get out of right now.
Absolutely. To explain proof of work versus proof of stake, we got to start with explaining what proof of work means. Yeah. So first of all, the Bitcoin mining machines, the ASICs, they are cranking out over and over and over a more complex formula, the SHA-256 algorithm, to protect and to validate the ledger process, the ledgers of the Bitcoin transactions. This is proof of work. I'm speaking as quickly as possible to touch on this because that's a whole nother subject. I could go in that for an hour in and of itself. So proof of work is doing a calculated labor. When I say labor, it's work in a computer over and over and over again on millions and millions of machines using multiple gigawatts of energy. It's making it very challenging so that we can't be hacked. It's protecting the Bitcoin. A proof of stake is when people put their currencies into a currency. So they're putting their value and their worth into that currency. And the comparison I make it out to be like is being pot committed in a poker game. Mm-hmm. If all of us at this table are playing poker and we've all put chips in the game, we want the game to work. We want the game and as soon as someone cheats, the game is broken. Yep. The chips are no longer worth anything because you can't cash them out in a place that went under.
Yeah.
So we're all sitting here going, we're all bet into this. And so therefore, if we all keep our money in it, we're staking it, then it's going to stay strong and no one's going to, because why would you poke a hole in a ship you're sitting in and have it sink with you in it? However, it does lend itself to be a little bit like fiat currency because the way the ledgers are validated and said, yes, this is true, has to do with how much you as an individual have staked that currency. So it actually can be kind of swayed and influenced and potentially compromised by someone having more stake than you do.
Or by a handful of people.
Yeah. Exactly. It could be essentially a staked cabal, for lack of a better word.
And I would say that, historically, proof of stake has been more prone to 51% attacks
yes,
on their networks. And to drive that home, I mean, it's not a fair form of a system because a lot of times there can be pre-mines. So in other words, the distribution of the assets themselves can often get disproportional.
And right now, you're seeing the number one. I mean, 50% of the entire cryptocurrency market share is Bitcoin. So that's number one. That's proof of work. I believe it'll always be proof of work. We've seen spinoffs; they have not flown. I think we're going to be stable moving forward. The number two, which is half of the remaining half, is Ethereum. Also proof of work, something we mine over at American BitPower. So we're talking 75% of the whole cryptocurrency market share, and more technically, because there's other ones that are proof of work, are proof of work. That is the most stable, that's most reliable, and it is the most democratic and fair.
Yeah. Right. And, recently with these aggressive ad campaigns targeting Bitcoin mining, a couple, I don't know if you saw this, Chris, but a couple on Twitter known as the Crypto Couple produced an ad firing back at these misinformation ads. And they are often known for their pro-ironic Bitcoin humor. And in my opinion, they have, or they're literally a living meme in defense of Bitcoin. And I recently asked them if I could play their audio from this little clip that they did. And they did give me permission, so I thought I'd go ahead and share it. Let's take a listen.
This is Sweden, one of the leading industrial nations in Western Europe, home to a population about the size of Chicago's. And don't forget IKEA.
There's a cryptocurrency that uses 0.1% of the world's energy production per year and stores twice as much value as Sweden's GDP. Bitcoin.
Stock footage like this is used as propaganda because Bitcoin mining is powered by a higher mix of sustainable energy than any major country or industry in the world.
For perspective, 2/3 of the energy produced globally is literally wasted. If they're genuinely worried about the climate, why don't they use these scary images to talk about gold mining or the military-industrial complex? Because they want to control Bitcoin. Enter proof of work.
A bunch of computers all over the world use energy to secure the Bitcoin network. Thus, there is no single point of failure and it can't be manipulated. They scare you with these images because for the first time in history, this means no government, central bank, corporation, or random billionaire can change the rules to benefit themselves.
Here's the thing. Proof of work ensures there are not only a few dozen decision makers who decide what happens to Bitcoin. Millions of people around the world use Bitcoin, and there are tens of thousands of node operators and miners.
If that sounds crazy, that's because it's never been done before. You don't have to be a tech billionaire or on Wall Street to benefit from Bitcoin.
Because like the planet, Bitcoin is for everyone. So let's fix the money.
And try to fix the world.
So yeah, I don't know if you saw that one, Chris, but I was kind of chuckling a little bit when I saw it on Twitter. But I thought it was pretty well put together. But they were addressed. The reason why they made this is they were addressing the ad campaign by I think it was Chris Larson with XRP. Now to be fair, I'm not an XRP fan, but I'm also for free market of ideas competing against each other. And I even own some XRP for just disclosure. So, but Bitcoiners, before you throw the stones at me, I'm doing this simply for the fact that once this lawsuit that they are involved in with the SEC is over, the price will probably go up, and I'll probably buy some more Bitcoin. So here's the thing you got to consider. I'm not going to hang on to it. I'm not going to use it. And any project that is trying to work with the banks or is trying to consolidate power is a red flag to me, and it defeats the purpose of these crypto ecosystems that are popping up. And as we learned last week from a caller, which I did a little bit of research, he brought up this idea of ISO 222 compliant. And I did the research that I found is that there's a international organization of standardization that is behind the creation of this ISO 222 standard. The organization introduced this as a way to have one standard method of developing messages between financial institutions. This is an effort driven by the financial incumbents. And the problem, in my opinion, the problems facing us today is the current order and system that we face. So that is why people ask me why I push Bitcoin and for its adoption. That's one of the reasons. I feel like Bitcoin can fix a lot of these issues. I want a free market system of money, and Bitcoin is obviously the best option we have when it comes to this. So besides, Bitcoin can't be taken to court. There is no real leader, no office, and no CEO. There's literally no one to go after. So it's a decentralized open source software that just lives and breathes on the internet. Chris, what do you think about that?
Well, first of all, that was a very entertaining little advertisement. I'm gonna have to go look them up and see what else they've been doing there. So I appreciate you sharing with that. So first of all, a lot of people don't understand is that everything in this world has a cost. Okay, and where people are attacking us for using all this energy, when actually we are going to be salvaging a lot of energy as well. Let's take, for instance, the issue of batteries. Okay. Batteries are currently, to make a battery, you have to mine lithium, you have to mine nickel, you have to mine cobalt. There's chemicals that are, and many of the places we're mining them are not here in America. They're in nations that don't have any kind of ESG regulations.
And they're like huge holes in the earth, too.
Yes.
It's holes, and then we're going through massive amounts of petroleum to do so. So this is truly like, and by the way, I'm not saying batteries are the devil. I'm just saying that they're not an economic, nor are they an ESG green solution for storage and transportation of energy. And so if you have all this stranded energy, if we have this massive amount of stranded energy across the globe in multiple formats, whether it be wind, solar, because right now, if you put a bunch of solar panels out there and you don't have the right network to get that energy away out there, it's got to be stored. And that is overly expensive. It's not cost efficient, and it's not healthy to the earth to store that. Well, how else can we store energy? We can store it in the cloud. Now, immediately you go, well, I can't turn Bitcoin energy. Yes, you can, because you can go buy and pay for an alternate source elsewhere. So it transports it free of cost across the globe, and it stores that stranded resource that just like solar is just going through our Earth, going all over our Earth every day when we're not using it all. So this is an opportunity for us to treat Bitcoin as an energy battery or a resource battery, a place to store it temporarily and then apply it through spending it on a different location for a new resource. So I could turn essentially solar energy into buying apples across the planet.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Chris, but I'm under the impression, with Texas and the grid problems that they had during one of these last winter storms a couple of years ago, Bitcoin mining has really popped up strong in Texas, and
yes,
and they are, I guess, because of the new energy demand from the Bitcoin miners, they are I guess, using this excess energy, and then when there are problems with energy, like they need more energy, they can basically turn off their machines and have that energy be used in the grid instead of, I think, was it last time when they had that problem with the ice storm, they didn't have enough energy.
Right. Now, we call that the curtailment programs. Texas and Oklahoma both have incredible curtailment motivations. And what that means is there's 8,760 hours in a year. About less than 1% of those hours are incredibly high need, high demand hours. Cryptocurrency miners, we can just shut off. So if we're sitting on using a large chunk, let's say we're 5% of that energy in that state, then we can immediately provide by just choosing to shut off and being or motivated to be a sense of the community, but also we're economically motivated.
Right.
And we can turn off and provide 5% boost of network energy on the grid to the demand that is all of a sudden out of nowhere, especially in emergency situations such as the freeze we had last year.
Well, and you mentioned too with the dams, like a lot of times when you are debating on whether to build a dam, whether the demand for that energy is going to be there, right?
Well, that's the biggest problem with building a dam, because a dam can provide gigawatts. And let's just read, you might have heard gigawatts in Back to the Future, 1.21 gigawatts, and you can travel in time. It's because that's a lot of freaking energy, okay? Yeah. So when we're talking about the gigawatts, that's 1,000 megawatts. A megawatt is 1,000 kilowatts, and a house uses about 5 kilowatts, just to put in perspective. And so if you're building a hydro dam, it's going to produce sometimes as much as 10 gigawatts. And if you don't have a market that's going to need it, it's not going to justify the capital expense to build it up front. However, if you have a group of miners coming to us, just like we have Core Scientific, who just moved to the Oklahoma area. We have Northern Data, who's actually building a substation on the hydro dam over at GRDA. So we have these ones coming to our state because we're Bitcoin friendly, number one, from a legislative perspective, but also because it's economic.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so in essence, it's creating the viability of building these renewable energy sources and being able to turn on and off depending on supply and demand, right?
Which is the basic fundamental of all economics, of macroeconomics.
Well, it's beautiful. And, fun, fascinating thing to think before we go to break here. Societies have typically been built around sources of energy, whether it be oceans, rivers, lakes, where fossil fuels are found. There's a lot of times we as humans throughout history have built, we resided in places where there was abundant energy and access to that energy. But Bitcoin mining, you can go to remote locations and tap some of this energy that was not viable to tap before, and you can almost start developing and living in those areas too. I mean, if I'm right.
I mean, Bitcoin mining is totally location agnostic. I mean, we can literally build a warehouse or drop a bunch of containers in the middle of nowhere and take advantage of a resource that's being wasted, especially the flared gas. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize is how much pollution flared gas is creating. And it's a necessity. They don't go, why are you flaring it? Because it's coming out. It's got to go somewhere. And if we burn it, it actually is less toxic. So they're actually helping the situation by burning it, but we can help it by using it.
Right.
And the whole point,
and you don't have to transport that energy.
Yeah.
You can build the mining operation right there where that natural gas is getting flared. It doesn't matter. And so there's no transportation issues. There's no security issues. I mean, it just makes sense. And Oklahoma is poised so beautifully to take full advantage of this if we'll just do it. And you guys are working on that really
Literally,
hard.
we are doing it, yes.
Right. It's happening right now. All right. We'll go ahead and take a quick time out, and then we'll come back and talk some more with our experts on cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, and mining operations. It's interesting stuff. Stick with us. You're listening to Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore, and this is 102.3 KRMG Tulsa's News and Talk. Welcome back to Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore. Sometimes I wish we could just open up the conversation during the commercial breaks and play that.
Yeah, those are some of the fun.
Sometimes that's super interesting too. And I can use all my bad words, which I can't do.
Yeah, I said frickin' the other day.
Anyway, I got
in trouble.
I got nothing but good words for this guy. He's been doing this show now. This is episode 42. I've learned so much from him. I appreciate him. His name is Matthew J. Moore. Hey, Matt.
I know, Russell. It's almost been a year. Can you believe that?
No.
Yeah.
I can't. 'Cause with everything that's gone on a year, in some ways it feels like 5 minutes. In other ways, it feels like a decade.
I know. Well, and in studio with us is my co-host, Eric Cooper. Eric, give it a hello.
Yes, sir. I'm actually looking to see what the episode 1 was because, I mean, we started pitching on this idea around December of 20 or 19.
No, I know this. I think we did it in my office. It was in April.
Well, when we first started talking about it with Levi May, the program director, he was ecstatic because he said this is content that nobody else has.
Exactly.
Right. Well, and also in studio with it is our Bitcoin miner from American BitPower, Chris Ransdell. Welcome back, man.
Thank you very much. It was great to be here.
Yeah, man, we've enjoyed it. Well, this show, just so you know, is only made possible by our wonderful sponsors. And today, this segment is brought to you by our newest and local sponsor. Spring is in the air. I bet you figured that one out. In Oklahoma, that means tornadoes and nasty pollen all over the place. There's nothing we can do about those tornadoes, but we can definitely help you with that yellow pollen tinted car that becomes so prevalent this time of year. That's why this segment is sponsored by Bubble Up Car Wash in Broken Arrow off of 470 East Kenosha Street. They are Broken Arrow's newest locally owned car wash with all the bells and whistles, I might add, to make your car clean, shiny, and dry. So come take advantage of their free vacuums, air wands, and towels. They have unlimited wash plans starting at $19.99 a month, and you can add family members for $15 a month per vehicle. So what are you waiting for? Go cheer up. Go cheer up at Bubble Up, and who knows, you might catch a glimpse of their family dog, Bentley, the Bubble Up pup. You can check them out at www.mybubblup.com. Today, we have had a wonderful show with our special guest, Chris Ransdell. Chris, is there anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to make known when it comes to this topic?
Wow. What we didn't cover. There's so many side little rabbit trails we could have gone down. I don't want to talk too much about it, but we didn't mention exactly how green Oklahoma really is. We said it, but we didn't say the details. We're number 2 in wind energy in the United States of America as far as the states. We're number 3 in natural gas. And we're second to the bottom in our coal consumption. Coal being the largest contributor to the carbon footprint as far as energy development. And this has been it's been motivated since 2015. So there's been a lot of shift since 2015. We couldn't have bragged like this back then, but now we can.
So if you were to be a guessing man, as a Bitcoin miner, we know estimate roughly that
we
Bitcoin
guess a lot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but it's it's proposed that Bitcoin mining currently uses, about half of its mining for renewable energy.
Right.
Would you, if you were to be, cast out a prediction there, do you think that number is going to increase?
That's not even a guess. It's an absolute.
It's absolute.
It's a necessity to the mining process for it to start migrating to more economic solutions. Those solutions are green, and they need to move to the United States, and they already are. We had 1.8 gigawatts of mining operation move to Oklahoma over the past 9 months. Okay, that is a lot of operations, a lot of tax money, by the way, to our state that could have gone somewhere else. That's a lot of job opportunities that could have gone somewhere else, and it came here. Why? Because we have the most available and most cost-efficient energy off of wind, hydro, natural gas, and a very small single-digit percentage in coal.
Yeah, and you didn't leave your previous job to hop into the mining and crypto industry to come in and just buy the most expensive gas and to do your job. I mean, obviously, as it goes on, you're trying to find a way to be more profitable. So again, we said that natural gas, the wind, whatever those things are, those are the cheaper way for you.
Absolutely. Oh, you're going to go where the wind takes you, pun intended.
Oh, yes. And now, Chris, you are American BitPower. You're the vice president. Let our listeners know how they find more about you personally and about the company.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, you can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook and the internet under American BitPower or a BitPower. That's our tag on multiple social medias. But American BitPower, easily found. You can also find me, Chris Ransdell. I have my own personal Facebook page, Rands Rants, where I will speak my mind unfiltered and sometimes get myself in trouble. If you want to see a more filtered version, friend me on Facebook. Believe it or not, my private is more filtered than my public.
Well, here's a little speculative question for you, Chris, before we close this out. So do you think a lot of this proof of stake, proof of work, debate about, let's get Bitcoin to change to proof of stake, proof of stake is currently typically regulated as a security instead of a commodity like proof of work. So, with Bitcoin being more of a commodity, and you've got things like XRP and other cryptos that want Bitcoin to be regulated in a similar way, so there's not this, difference between the two. Do you think that there might be some kind of push to do this because they want to be fighting in the same ring under the same rules?
I feel like you were tiptoeing around a very important point. You're being very politically correct. There are powers that be that want to be able to control money, and Bitcoin is uncontrollable, and they're threatened by that. And this is a fact. This is a scientific fact. This is not an opinion. This is how Bitcoin, with proof of work, and how it operates. So we are going to keep it proof of work, and we're going to fight for that because it's going to keep the power out of the hands of the greedy people that are trying to control us. So I'll be the one to say that. I know that sounds conspiracy theory, but you can actually look at the facts. You don't have to look at conspiracies. You don't have to look at opinions. You look at the data and the way science and the technology works behind cryptocurrency and behind Bitcoin. So the proof of stake is more vulnerable, and it does start trending towards the SEC's regulatory domain, where proof of work and the commodity that is Bitcoin doesn't. It is like gold. It is a place to hold wealth that will appreciate and will not depreciate because there is a finite, permanently finite, programmatically finite amount of Bitcoin.
And we just passed 19 million, and we have 21 coming. So that's
it's going to take 100 years to mine the remaining 200 million Bitcoin.
And I think
200 million.
Sorry, not
2 million.
2 million.
And I think Charlie said it a while back: is the entire world is going to compete for the final 2 million. Right. So if you haven't hopped in, we're still early. And Matt, we do this because you want to help people, educate people. So Matt, tell people again if you don't, what's proof of stake, what's proof of work, what's crypto in general.
They can just go to my website, mattjmoore.com, and set up a consultation. I'd be more than happy to visit with them. Did you have a question, Russell?
I did. I had a question because, if they're saying, well, we want to have proof of stake instead of proof of work, which I agree with you guys. If anybody cares, I think that's crazy. But how are they going to make that happen? We just got done talking about how nobody controls Bitcoin, nobody rules Bitcoin, nobody flips a switch and makes Bitcoin do anything. It is owned literally by the entire planet. So how could they even do that? Would it be the miners that would decide, or I'm not sure how that would work.
So the miners and the people running full nodes, about 94% of them would have to agree to these backwards compatible changes to the blockchain, and they're not going to do that.
They're just not, right?
And so if they don't do it, what happens is there's a hard fork and a completely new blockchain is created. And that's happened multiple times in Bitcoin's history for multiple different reasons. But guess what? Bitcoin won every single time. I mean,
not just one, they dominated.
Oh, yeah.
And it's still, I mean, Bitcoin is the 800-pound gorilla and his bodyguard in this realm. I mean, right?
Right.
Yes. It is. When you're talking cryptos, you're essentially talking Bitcoin and all those other guys.
Right,
I mean,
right.
all due respect to
Right.
Ethereum and
Right.
Doge or
Right.
whatever, but there's hundreds of them. But the big one, and the one that I think is here to stay for sure, is going to be Bitcoin.
And that's why we talk a lot about Bitcoin on the show. So, Chris, Eric, any final closing thoughts?
I just gotta say, it's Bitcoin is the 800-pound gorilla. We all want innovation happening, and so we're for innovation. We're for new projects, and I think that's very important to say. But when it all comes down to it, Bitcoin's what we depend on.
That's right.
Chris, last thoughts before we go?
I'm just looking forward to see you guys on the beach next week
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Bitcoin 2022.
Well, I won't be there, and that's probably comes as a great relief to all three of you.
Next year you're coming.
My legs are white enough to spark police calls. All right. Well, listen, thank you very much for tuning in for Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore. We're here every Sunday at 5 p.m. and talking about this stuff, and hopefully we'll have more opportunity to talk with you about it too. So stay tuned. We'll be here next Sunday. I'm Russell Mills. See you then.